So, little update. Let's get to the what we're going to show you. Each stack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is each character's point of view throughout the entire story thus far. We have Anna and Jal. We have Cyphrus. I think this is Quinlan. We have Aya, Nahum, and Eris. Those are the main people throughout the story as of yet that are, I don't know how to word it, they get their own perspective. The book follows them each in tandem. Each one of these people is in a different area though. Obviously. The story's gotten to the point now where multiple things have to be explored all in time. Now obviously, weirdly, Nahum's, I wrote the most with Nahum. Eris is quickly following him. Do you guys believe that some sort of higher being provides? I think I did too. Well, it's Tuesday again. What is it? Day 30? Writing day 30. Fucking crazy, man. I've been at this for a month. We began on Halloween of 2020. What was last year? 23, I think. And today is March 26th. Only 30 days of actual writing in that. Generally between 3 to 5 hours. Every day I feel just so like, holy fuck, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know what I mean? I don't know how to really put that into words that can be understood by everybody, because, I mean, someone that's not me is like, yeah, this is a channel that's about it. I mean, you can't believe it. You do it every time. But like on this side of it, it's very... It's so crazy to think about, like, this thing I'm doing here, you know. I wrote a book already, and it's about as done as I think it can be, you know. As I've explained before, my ambition is just to, I will put off, once I finish the third book, so I can make sure the story, like, it all fits. I don't want to, like, write it and, like, this is so conflicting, you said this was going to happen, but it didn't even happen in book 2. That stuff, make sure it's all perfect, but... as of right now, book 1 is done, and I'm obviously working on book 2. That's what this writing thing is. And instead of taking, well, I don't even remember when I began, 8 to 10 years to write one book, I'm already like closing in on halfway, and I've only been doing it for 30 days. But I only spread it out for October. However many months it's been since October. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't do that in my head. That's not bad. I definitely am a slow writer. But along the way, there's been so much examples. You're talking about God, you know, it's so much like divinity in its creation that I just stopped questioning it a long time ago, and I just every day just go at it as if it's completely normal. And I don't know how to really put it in words like that. I just know that there are many of us that hear the divinity, whatever you believe, in their own way, but also there's different types of ways, as like we're all meant to hear it like the way we would understand it, but also, like, for instance, there are some people that can dip their toe into this almost other world and pull back from it some sort of understanding. I can't quite do that. I'm more of, I can sit here, and if I just keep speaking, keep going and going and going, eventually I'll stop thinking, and that's when it comes to me. So that's why a lot of these videos are the way they are, because I'm just like, if I speak enough, you know, the first minutes are going to be the roughest, and then we're going to get through it, but eventually I stop paying attention to what I'm saying, and then it just kind of channels through. That's the best way I can describe it for me. And I know everyone's different in their way of finding divinity. You know, some people can see it visually, hear it. Some people can intuitively, just, I don't know. For me, it does feel intuitive. It feels like, don't question it. It doesn't have to be fully in front of you. Just the smallest glimpse is what you need to give you hope. Because I don't need a lot of proof. I'm not a proof person. I think that's very ignorant in some sense when it comes to this aspect, if you were in my mind. You know, I'm not going to sit and question everything and whys when I should just be listening to the things coming through. As I kind of quietly analyze a lot of my work, so in this case it would be like the lore of the world, how certain civilizations function, how groups of people behave, the political atmosphere, as well as, you know, the religious atmosphere in the entirety of the book amongst the many cultures. If I were to sit and analyze all that stuff, I can see how it mirrors our real world. And in many ways, I didn't realize this connection between what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So as I write the same way that I do these videos. I do a lot of stream of consciousness. I don't think about things. I don't dwell. I don't what should I say? I don't care. I'll sit there. We begin, and I'm on the journey just as much as the reader will be. I have no idea what's going to happen, where we're going to go, what person we're going to meet. None of that shit. But to stay in that pocket, to stay in that groove, if you want to call it that, I can't dwell on stuff. So you'll be typing and you'll be like, yeah, and then your character, you walk in a room and he met this man. And then you're like, well, what would his name be? And then boom, you cut yourself from it. You can't do that. You have to just and he walked in and he saw this man, blank. And blank said to him that, and then you just keep going and going and going. You know, don't describe the room. Fuck it. You'll describe it later. You know, they stood in the temple. And that's all you need to say about it. Don't go into detail of the pillars or the fucking, how the shadows play and what imagery is on the wall. Unless you can kind of do it in real time. I find don't focus on that shit. You can add that stuff in when you type it, when you go to your second draft. Then you kind of start extending things out a bit because you don't need to necessarily rely on the stream of consciousness in that regard. On your second write through, second draft, whatever you want to call it, that's when you take the stream of consciousness and you start to explore what's happening around the characters. So it's okay, the character's going through this thing, whatever. You go through it, you figure it out. When you do it again, now you're going to explore the world around them. So the characters are happening, you're copying it over. But look around a bit. That's when you need to use your imagination. Just peer around. What's happening in there? What do you see? And you just kind of throw that in here and there. And, don't focus too hard on it because you want to keep moving with the scenes. But from that point, you go on forth and forth, and then I'll get more into that once I get closer to those elements, since I never, did a vlog of my first book making. I think it's crucial because essentially you're capturing this, I don't even know how to explain it, man. And this is where I think I rely heavily on my research when it comes to Celtic stuff. There are certain people that are these visionaries. I consider them seers. Someone else may consider them people that have mental illnesses. I don't know. Whatever the modern world says. Auditory hallucinations to visual hallucinations or whatever. I can kind of sense that there's some sort of seer thing in them because I always think back to that saying by Joseph Campbell talking about the seers and the sages, the shamans. They were, as we define them now, as schizophrenics. That's just I think, how they would define him. Because they toe between reality here and then the after, or whatever you want to call it. So in my mind, there are those people, and they are their own group, and those are the ones that I go to, or try to go to, because I can't find a fucking shaman, nowadays. Go to a priest. Like, he's going to sell me things I'm not into yet. But I'm trying to listen to those folk, because my job is kind of like twofer, in a sense. It's this bardic thing. Can I take that, put into the music, and let you kind of find it there? But also interpretation of some sort of way of, okay, this man's going over and discovering this stuff, and he's coming and speaking to me. I'm going to try to take it and put it into like a poetic, artistic expression to give it to the people. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember exactly what they call that in the, it wasn't the Vates. I don't want to consider myself a bard in any sense of the word. But yeah, the storytelling, okay? There is that knowledge that exists in the other place, and I go to the old shamans, which is like the mythologies that were created over time and were finally written down. I just kind of take that stuff and like, what can I come with when it comes to this? What can I pull from it? How can I shape it in a sense that we can understand it in our modern world? Because that's the hard part. We don't know that the story of the Olympians, the Titans and all that stuff, we don't necessarily know that people believed it the way that we want to imagine them have believed it. If they necessarily knew it was some sort of like the same thing that's on our cinemas and stuff. Where it's just this thing that entertains, but it also guides, and it gives people an intellect, and it gives them some sort of doorway in. I'm reading right now, remember I got those books, I'm reading Plato's work and Socrates. And as I'm reading Socrates, there's this huge, obviously, there's this huge emphasis philosophy being this like higher attainment. Like, well, to be a philosopher, you must rid yourself of these bodily functions, and you're seeking true knowledge. And what exactly is this? And what is that? What is this? And you're questioning everything. When someone brings something to you, you're just questioning everything that you can about their process of how they got to that thought, and you're trying to help them see things in a different light. I feel like I'm doing that in my own way, not as good as those guys did. But as I'm reading the story of Socrates, of his death, I'm getting this weird like Jesus kind of vibe. Where there is this man who was, because we don't have the stories of before, we just have the trial. I think it's called Socrates' Apology or something. And he's basically having to defend himself against these people that were saying, basically he was a blasphemer. Like he knows about gods, and he's saying, he's making up his own idea of what gods are, I believe is what they were kind of pinning on him. And in reality, there was a whole thing going on. You should read it for yourself. But as I'm looking at it, and then he's sent to prison, and then there's these stories, like, his interaction with people in prison and him teaching them stuff. We're just not even really teaching them much as debating them about their belief systems or whatever. And I get this kind of like Jesus vibe, and I'm like, it's a sacrificial person who knowingly sacrifices himself for the greater good, because you should never fight death. And this person that was born becomes this centerpiece of a conscious idea that's then brought forth. And so that's a lot different when it comes to Socrates, comparing him to Jesus. I honestly believe that they both existed, and I believe they were both these seers of this new way. These visionaries, if you want to call them that. These people that were at the right moment, the right time, seemingly must have disrupted the establishment, kind of counterculture, if you will. And because of that, they had to be killed. But in that, they helped change the consciousness of man, in some sense, when it comes to their own beliefs of, whatever group of men we're talking about. In this case, it's the Greeks. And how that would have spread to Western culture many years later. And it got me thinking a lot about how, from that point, philosophy kind of began. I'm sure there was shit going on before that, but we take this Greek philosophy, and that's where we go with it now. You know, you look at modern philosophy, and it's very focused on the mind and the personalities that ride within it, or the emotions, and how there's a multitude of them, and are these sort of separate beings that all use this tool? Kind of what my book's about, and I stumbled upon that myself, and I'm seeing it in modern philosophy in a sense, and I don't remember the words, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying we're getting to that minute point where we're starting to understand how emotions and how personalities can affect us. Like they're different beings in a sense that all are within us. And my kind of what I'm trying to explore in the book, this is something that Eriks is going to go through himself. The idea that there's a multitude of personality, a multitude of emotion, or any kind of word you want to use, a different person in a sense, all within you. And I'm just giving them the term spirits, emotions, to kind of keep it simple so it's not too confusing. But in a grand scheme of things, the idea we're trying to explore is what is it to be such a person that has these beings that seem to commune with them all at the same time, and you have to differentiate yourself. Whether you believe, it's kind of like, the jury's out, I guess is the word I can say. But like multiple personality disorder, it's like that's an example. Like it really can exist, and sometimes some people have a hard time with it. Others necessarily don't because they don't dwell on it. You know, there might be some factors that lead to the fear that is how you are met by these things. But going back to people that are visionaries or seers, they can hear the communication not only between the multitudes of themselves, but the multitudes that they're like higher above us, like higher beings, spirits, whatever you want to call them, you know, gods, fucking ghosts, I don't know, voices. They seem to be able to unlock this conversations that might be happening in these beings. They're more in tune with it. And so in that, they're able to differentiate it, but it's not necessarily a blessing. It seems like it's more of a curse than anything. From that point, I always call it like soothsayers, you could say. No, that wouldn't be it. It would be more like, I can't remember the term I gave them. But the people that commune with these spirits and try to bring back whatever the hell's going on there so they can communicate. And it could merely just be another dimensional thing or a realm thing, or what you're hearing are some beings, some denizens that live in the next tier up in the realm. It's not that crazy at all. They're just people like us, but we're hearing it, and their world, and to us it's jarring because why wouldn't it be? It's not here. It would totally exist in a different way. So that could just be it. It's not that big of a deal, or it could be a huge deal. You're actually overhearing the Olympians trying to take back the Earth. I don't fucking know. It'd be nuts, wouldn't it? I just think in that is the fucking main thing I'm always trying to explore. And I know I'm not, for me, what the problem is, I'm not a learned person. I'm not an intellectual. I'm not. I hang out with intellectuals, but I'm not one. You're never going to hear me say a lot of smart words. You're never going to hear me understand concepts or truly be able to give you a good example of archetypal, philosophies in whatever sense. I'm just not good at that. I'm not a smart person. I consider myself grasping at straws all the time. So it's hard for me to get you in on this stuff because I don't have the vocabulary. I don't have the mental capacity. I've not studied enough words to know exactly what words to use to invoke. Like, I find it to be most difficult. So I see that as this negative thing, but then there's this positive thing. I'm like, well, that means I'm kind of a normal person. So maybe you can hear a person speak that isn't trying to be like, yes, so the 18th century philosophy, how it derived from the 17th century in many regards is, that stuff. You're not hearing that guy come across. You're hearing a dude like me who swears and forgets that he burps and coughs all the time. I forget. I'm sorry. Can't help it. I'm not paying attention to the sounds I make. And it's just someone that has a very low IQ and a very low reading level. Let's be honest. I'm trying as hard as I can to be a better person, but I feel limited in the background that I had. But that's fine. That's okay. Because what it does is it shows you that we can all obtain whatever the fuck is laying beyond us. That's where I think the voice of God, and the voices, if you want to say that, that's where I think it's the most important. That's where I feel the divinity. Because if there's these emotions that are within us, but there's ones that are without us, and there are these multitudes of personalities, if that exists, then maybe there's a few of them that are the conveyors of the gods. Maybe there's a few of them that are the ones that commune with us to take back to the gods, or whatever you want to call them, the higher divinity, the higher beings, the master aliens, I don't know, whatever your belief systems are, the next tier up, the creators. I think that is what communes back and forth between us. And it works very much in the same way as kind of our technology is slowly becoming. You know, transporting of the voice. You think of Hermes, you think of like the messenger between, I think Hermes is the one that went above and below. He was the one that could transcend and descend. And so he's the one that would be this communicative force when it comes to us and the gods, in a sense. So we use that when it comes to our communication to within each other. I can communicate to you, and you might not be anywhere near me, which is pretty insane, isn't it? It's this, we're bringing down from above to the below part. We're communicating with each other across vast distances. That's pretty fucking insane. And it's almost a 200-year-old fucking technology, but it's still fucking crazy to communicate so far away. That is the technology. You know, we have to do it synthetically. I don't know if they have to do it synthetically. I think that's what separates us from higher beings. They can commune with each other organically, perhaps. This is all speculation. So when we have to communicate to the higher powers, it's got to be done organically. It's got to be done in your head. Well, not many people like to use those anymore in the way that we can, that we're able to. So it makes it difficult. I don't ever pray a lot for anything. I will pray for people and their health. But other than that, I don't necessarily try to ask for favors. I will commune with them. I will commune with them in a way of like laying out myself, like this, right here. I will lay myself out in all the things that bother me and what I struggle with, and I will commune, and I will talk in depth of everything I'm feeling, like why I feel, you know, this negativity or this positivity. And I will lay that out to them much in the exact same way that I'm talking to you now, where I'm putting it out there. What do you want to do with that? I'm trying to do the best I can. Here's what's going on with me. I'm struggling today. I'm knowingly sabotaging myself, and I don't know why. And so for me, it's like that's what I try to do, to keep this open connection. I don't always, in my mind, I don't expect, hey, come on, like, give me something, what the fuck? I don't expect anything. I expect nothing. Because I didn't earn that, you know? I'm not going to pray to a higher being and like, let's go, like, you serve me. I can't. Much like that, as I was reading Socrates, and he talks about, to kill oneself, how could it be bad? Well, it's, you are the creation of the makers. If your cattle killed itself, wouldn't you be fucking irritated with the cattle? Like, yeah. We don't have that ability. So it's like we are whatever they want us to be, I can't expect them to serve me in this very physical and material world. What the fuck was that? What was that? That was really weird. What was that sound? Huh. Let me listen back to that. Did this capture it? Okay, so I've had to listen back to that. It did not capture it on there, on the thing as well as what I fucking heard. Holy moly! It sounded. There was no car that went by. I looked out. I was like, maybe someone's fucking brakes are like really, you know, rubbing. Lubrication problems. And then I just like looked out. There's no car. I was like, is there a dog or something? I heard it right back there. That low sounding. It literally sounded like brakes, like when your brakes are getting kind of bad and they make that sound. That was weird. Okay. You know, all night I've been hearing this really low rumble too, and my wife this morning, and I kept hearing it. I'm like, listen, and it was just on this low bassy rumbling that would, then it would stop. I'm like, did you hear that? And she's like, no. I'm like, fuck! God damn it, I'm hearing things. But the camera caught a fucking smidge of it, man. Oh, that was weird. It sounded like unnerving. It didn't sound like sounds. It just kind of, I felt something primally like, I don't know what that was. Anyway, as what we were talking about was the gods. Freaky. I don't know where to go from there. I have no idea where to go from there. I'm gonna call it. That's creepy. We'll fucking get back, man, because that cut me right off too. It cut me off that fucking vibe I was on, as you'd say nowadays. Okay. Anyway, I'll enhance the audio as much as I can, but I can't capture it. I don't know why. It's just, it was far away. It was like down there or something. I don't goddamn know. That is so creepy. So fucking creepy. Anyway, we'll try to write today. We'll see what happens.